Here we are now. Entertain us. We entered the 90s with this song. I think Kurt Cobain's ironic revolution still holds. I'll be honest, Dad, this is gonna be a very weird video. I will talk about the Terminator and Idiocracy movies, the beginning of the internet, and then land on AI, data centers, specialized chips, governments and corporations optimizing for war and profit, and what this means for our humanity. Well, the philosophy of technology, if you will. Because this timeline got weirder than most people realize. And all I want to do is just to tell my story, which will make a lot of sense at the end, if your attention span can handle all of this. We started the days of internet as a globally shared public source of information. This was our software period, which enabled the global village feeling because it made the connection and information feel infinite and free. At least in the beginning. We had a world of digital abundance. Everyone could sit at the same table, share ideas. I mean, you don't even need to go too far back. Just think of the early days of chronological Facebook or Twitter. We all saw the same facts and had the same tools. We talked about eventually reaching a global consensus. We were all global citizens in a digital world without borders. But, and I'm not gonna lie, this is a big, unsexy but. The internet also exposed us. It showed us our differences. And we all know when there is a difference of opinion, there is profit to be made. So, of course, the tech giants amplified those differences. Then they gave us the private rooms to hide inside. Of course, it didn't end there. They then started to choose what we consume inside those rooms, which, of course, is where we connect things to the Idiocracy movie. If you don't know this movie, like my dad, let me spoil it with one sentence. It is a 2006 movie that critiques modern society. Ironically, the film's portrayal of societal decay serves as both amusement and a warning. Done. Back to Nirvana. So our current system is doing exactly what it was supposed to do, what it was designed to do. Here we are now, entertain us, aka stop us from thinking. Now, in 2026, we all live inside those private rooms, agreeing with people we already agree with, while disagreeing with the rest we already disagreed with. Enter the Terminator phase. Just look at this headline from my local news. Google is developing a new data center in Upper Austria. Who cares about software anymore? Conversation is now about physical compute capacity and autonomous intelligence systems that run on those. These are all national infrastructures, so the conversation is about power. We have more connectivity than ever, but less influence over the systems that govern our reality. You can't have a unified village if the computers, the systems running it, are being pulled into different geopolitical orbits. I am not anti-AI by any means. All I'm saying is this new wave of AI systems being deeply entangled with the military will have way too many second and third order effects we can't even begin to imagine yet. I'll use Europe as a real canary in the mine example here. Europe's rules worked when everything was more globalized and peaceful. Of course, more focused on profit too. But we are not living in that world anymore. Today is a world of silicon shields. Countries and companies are now more focused on strategic capacity instead of pure profit margins. And in this new silicon shield world, having the best rules does not matter if you don't have the chips. In other words, Brussels tried to keep the unified village values, ethics and privacy, alive, while the rest of the world is building compounds, sovereignty and speed. I initially planned to talk about all the great new sovereign power moves Europe is making to fix this. I did hours and hours in research. I wanted to talk about the details of the Mistral AI and the deal they made with the French Ministry of Armed Forces. I wanted to talk about the Dutch ASML and how they revolutionized the 21st century by making the lasers that make the specialized chips possible. First, I called this the impossible trinity of European tech. Though I realized this is not specific to Europe anymore. This is my main point. In economics, an impossible trinity means you have 3 goals, but you can only ever achieve 2 of them. The third always breaks. Currently, all the global forces are fighting between these pillars. If you want ethics and speed, you usually end up using American infrastructure because it is the only thing fast enough to host your vision today. Which means if you are not America or China, you lose your sovereignty, your nation's digital independence. Then, if you want sovereignty and speed, you have to cut the regulatory red tape and stop worrying about being the world's moral compass. Then you lose your ethics. Finally, if you want sovereignty and ethics, well, you end up where Europe is right now. You are the most ethical, independent player in the world, but you are moving at the speed of a scooter while the rest of the world is driving a Formula One car. Of course, the reality of the world is a lot messier, a lot more complex, because incentives don't care about anyone's ideals. Right now, the global incentive is compute power. The US and China have decided that speed and capacity are the only things that matter for national security. Europe is the only one still trying to prioritize the ideal. It is a beautiful position to take, great ideals, but lately it is starting to feel more like a utopia. The EU tried to run ethics software on a world running on war and profit hardware. It is a mismatch of systems. So, what happens to us humans when the system wins? What does it mean to live in systems you can't influence? What happens when good systems lose to effective systems? And what is the cost of staying human in a power-driven world? I don't know. I don't know how to solve the social internet's current problems, let alone the bigger future problems. But that is what I want to talk about going forward. The internet was supposed to unite us. That was the promise. But I don't think we talk enough about what actually happened instead. My father is 71. I asked him recently what he remembers about the early days of the internet. He mostly talked about his confusion. He mentioned before the internet reached our apartment, we had a Commodore 64 sitting in the prime spot of the living room. I mean, it looked important, though the only thing that mattered to me and my brother was the River Raid game. What was beautiful about those times was the stress was finite. If I failed in River Raid, it was just game over. Brief sadness or anger or frustration, then hop back to your life. Then one day, the internet arrived. I remember me and my brother again spending hours in front of the monitor, hanging in the chat rooms on MIRC or slowly downloading images that took forever to appear line by line. My father says he watched us in amazement as we figured out this new world much faster than he could. To be honest, even as a teen on a dial-up connection, I could feel something big was happening. I was able to talk with people across the world, share ideas, questions, knowledge, argue, laugh, learn together. It was magic. We built a system that allowed us to think together almost in real time. The idea of global citizen, borderless knowledge, digital collaboration, open science, it was all so amazing. Still is. You just need to look very carefully. Needle in the haystack situation. Though with the incentive changes in the last 10 years or so, we have been watching the fracturing of the global citizen idea. As I said at the very beginning, the algorithmic bubbles, echo chambers, platform silos, people fighting each other over nothing and everything. Each platform optimizes for more and more of our time, brain, attention, love, hate. Heck, Netflix CEO Reed Hastings said it like 8 years ago. Our biggest competitor is sleep. Cool. Then we watched the rise of influencers, basically the real-life Truman Show. Today, we are in the geopolitical phase of this fracturing times, which will be governed by sovereign AI systems. The cognitive borders are going up. This is the phase where we might see a limit on what you are allowed to see and consequently what you are allowed to know and think, which is kinda already happening. Just look at this. We are using AI as a collective memory drive. We uploaded everything on these models, giant training data sets, the whole internet. Now we expect these private companies, which have different incentives and profit motives, to give us that information back. You see the problem? We already have a rising problem of loneliness, despite our hyperconnectivity. We already had a distrust of information, which just got supercharged with AI. Now we live in a constant feeling of uncertainty, which only results in exhaustion and anxiety. Well, hindsight is a bitch. There is no surprise here. We are running a 50,000-year-old social hunter-gatherer hardware on a 2026 fractured AI software. Unlike my river raid stress, today's game of internet never ends. The only solution I see in this fractured information world is direct human experience. The more synthetic our reality becomes, the more expensive authentic reality feels. Yeah, we are at the point where being a human is the new premium. When life is this chaotic and the world is the world, I take my dog Rocket out for a walk in the forest. Feel the sunshine, drink water, read a book, write it all out, dance in my living room like no one is watching, and take a deep breath. Something about the intentional ritual brings order to chaotic times. I treat this as attention as self-sovereignty. I work hard to protect my mental space, my cognitive autonomy, emotional boundaries, and let myself unwind from the holes of information coming from every hole available and news flooding my irresistible rectangle of sadness. Look, our attention is our life because we inevitably become what we give our attention to, what we consume. This is not new, nor is it my own philosophy. Even Buddha or the Stoics have been grappling with the same existential dilemmas of being human. Our souls, our attention have been commodified by the unearned confidence of the Silicon Valley giants. The only metric they follow is how much our souls are worth per second in their ad budgets. So maybe intentional inefficiency, slowness as resistance can be something we can all work on. To resist the fast information systems, we practice slower meaning making. I mean, this is why I walk about 10 kilometers a day in the forest. Honestly, I've been an overthinker my entire life. I started writing my own thoughts as a teenager and kept it going on and off. I'm not calling it journaling because even at those times it was just writing my thoughts for me. It still is, that is all. Though I really wish I still had my old notebooks. Sadly, I threw them out long ago in between moving houses. But I thought, who cares about my ramblings? Once again, hindsight is a bitch. It would have been amazing to have my own words, my own written record of 90s and 2000s. But hey, at least now I know my current ones will stay with me till the end. It is going to be, hopefully, a fun read when I turn 80 or 90, I guess. Anyway, what I'm getting at is this. Don't worry, neither the world nor the internet is ending. However, in a world of power-hungry war machines and deepfakes, the rising currency will be our humanity. We have the connectivity, but we have lost the influence. We are using AI to write our LinkedIn posts, school papers, essays, YouTube scripts, stories. Everyone started to sound the same. Academics are paying for AI-written papers. CEOs are taking advice from advanced AI systems. Governments and military are using autonomous AI systems. We are erasing nuance and humanity from our lives. We are erasing our own uniqueness, which is a shame because our unique stories make us beautifully flawed humans. I say being intentionally inefficient, slow, conversational, and transparent is something we should re-optimize for. Or, as I call it, let's de-optimize to stay human. Real conversations, real stories told by real people, physical presence, local communities, third places, they need to regain value. Because at this point, being a fucking human is an act of resistance. I am Ruby. It is a privilege you are here, and I can't wait to share my stories with you. By the way, fuck algorithmic efficiency. Don't lose the ability to remember who you are and who you are sitting next to or in front of. Get ready to de-optimize.